Welcome back to Just a Minute, Just a Mishnayos. This Mishnayos and the Nishmas, Fredelei Bas Rachel, and the Schus of Eli Yitzchak ben Gila, and their Fuas, Tzir Bas Rivash, Dafu Shlema. So Masechas Bava Kama, Perek Zayin, Mishnah Beis, and Mishnah Gimel, Ganav al Pishnayim, V'tovach u'marcha al Pihem. So if someone steals an animal, and so two witnesses come to Beis Din and say, we saw this person steal, V'tovach u'marcha al Pihem, and they also come and say, and then he sold it. And then he shechted it and sold the meat. Or a different pair of witnesses come and say that he shechted and sold the meat. So he has to pay 4 or 5 times the price, as we discussed yesterday, depending on if it's a goat or a ox. Ganav u'machar b'Shabbos, if he stole it and sold the meat on Shabbos. Ganav u'machar l'avodah zarah, if he stole it and sold the meat to avodah zarah, for idol worship. Ganav v'tavach b'Yom Kippurim, if he did it on Yom Kippur. Ganav mishel aviv, if he stole it from his father. V'tavach achar, and he sold it. V'achach meis aviv, and then his father died. Ganav v'tavach v'achar chikdish, if he stole it and shechted it and then gave the meat away to Hektish, to Beis Hamikdash. Mishan Tashlam Bava Chamisha. In all these cases, he starts to pay 4 to 5 times the amount. Ganav v'tavach l'rfuah l'klavim, if he stole it and shechted it and used the meat for a fuah for health purposes. Is like to heal someone who's sick, or if he's sick, or if he fed it to dogs, hashechet nimtzu treif, or if he shechted it and discovered that it's treif, it's not kosher, hashechet chulim bazar, or if he shechts it in the Beis Hamikdash, which you're not allowed to do if it's not karban. Misham dashlam bava chamisha. In all these cases, he pays 4 or 5 times the amount. Rabbi Shimon paita b'shnei elu. Rabbi Shimon says in the last 2 cases, if he finds out that it's a treif, that the animal is not kosher, or if he shechts in the Beis Hamikdash, so then he doesn't have to pay. Mishnah Gimel Ganav al Pishnayim, if 2 witnesses come and say that someone stole an animal and he shechted it and sold the meat for him to Zayman, and then we found out they were Edim Zayman. Now Edim Zayman are witnesses who they come and say something, and then another pair of witnesses come and say on those 2 pair of witnesses, you can't have seen that because you were with us at the time that you're saying. So the first pair of Edim are called Edim Zayman, and they must be lying. So if we find out then that these witnesses are Edim Zayman, Mishaman Hakal, so then the rule is with Edim Zayman that they get whatever punishment they were trying to inflict. So here they have to pay everything, even 4 or 5 times the amount. If 2 witnesses come and say that he stole it, and then another 2 come and say that he shechted the animal and sold the meat, and then we find out that both sets are Edim Zayman. So then, Harishonim Mishalim Tashlumi Kefal. So the first pair, they only have to pay double because what they were trying to do was have to make him pay double the amount by saying that he stole it. And then the last pair pay 3 or 2, meaning they pay the rest of the amount. They don't pay 4 or 5. Instead, they pay 2 or 3 because the person or the first set already paid 2, so they just pay the rest of it. Nimtu, because that was the damage which they were trying to add on. Nimtu achronim zaymin, if only the second pair we found out they're lying, that they're edim zaymin, humashal tashlumei kefel, so they have, v'hein mishalmin tashlumei shleisha, so the person pays double because the first pair of witnesses which said that he stole, they were telling the truth, and then the other ones paid to him, tashlumei shleisha, they paid to him 3 times the amount, or 4 if it's an ox. 3 if it's an ox, 2 if it's a goat. Echad min ha'achrayim zaymim, if only 1 out of the last pair of witnesses was turned out to be lying. But la'edu shniya, so then the witness is nullified, but they don't have to pay. Echad min ha'rishonim zaymim, if one of the witnesses from the first pair turns out to be lying. But la'kol ha'edus, so both pairs of edim we don't accept any of the witnesses. Shem ein gneva ein tvicha avein mechira, because if one out of the first pair was lying, so then there's nothing to base the second pair of witnesses on, because the second pair of witnesses are based on the fact that he shechted the animal and sold the meat is based on the fact that he stole it, and if there isn't valid witnesses that he stole it, so then the other pair of witnesses doesn't mean anything, and those are today's Mishnayos.